Good evening, Purple family. Welcome to Shades of Purple, a Prince podcast. On tonight's episode, I'm going to be talking about, of course, the ninth anniversary of Prince's passing and just give a little background about, where I was when I heard the news about his passing and just some other things that have came up since his passing, surrounding his passing. Last year, I did top five myths concerning Prince's death, and it was one of my highest played episodes. So I'm hoping with this episode, I'll put more of a personal spin to it, but also talk about some of those same conspiracy theories that are still lingering about his death. So, April 21st, 2016, I was working at a public library, and I had been there for almost 6 years, about 5.5 years at that point. And for those that don't know, I am a librarian. That's how I make my money. And I have been working, like I said, at this particular branch for about 5.5, close to 6 years. And at the time, my husband was just my boyfriend. And we had been together for a while, and we were both, really big Prince fans. And I recall the last time that I saw Prince on TV was when he went to the Billboard Music Awards in 2015. I believe that's what it was, when he had on the gold lame suit, when he had the guitar on him, and he gave an award to The Weeknd. And I remember very specifically that my boyfriend at the time, now my husband, was like, "Hey, babe, Prince is on TV." And that was his speech where he gave, where he said books and albums still matter, just like Black Lives, because he was hinting at his memoir that he was at the time working on. And so that was the very last time I remember seeing him alive on TV. Now, skip ahead to April 15th. When we find out about the emergency landing in Moline. Now, I was as shocked as everybody else because I knew that, the piano and microform concert had been going on. And I remember back in February when Vanity passed away, how he seemed like so forlorn. And a lot of people were saying, even before that, like around January of 2016 and December of 2015, that he looked very gaunt. He looked like he was just withering away, and he looked really sick. And like I said on last year, and I'll just keep saying it, I don't think he looks particularly sick to me. I mean, he did look a little frail, but Prince had always been a small man. He had never weighed no more than, I think maybe at his heaviest, he might have been around maybe 130 pounds. Maybe not even that. So yeah, he did look a little frail. I will admit that, but I wouldn't go as far as to say that he was sick, because even the pictures that I saw of him in December 2015, when he did that New Year's Eve show out in St. Bart's, he looks fine. His hair, his afro, looked a little disheveled or whatever, like he wasn't really like combing it and shaping it or whatever. But I just think at this point he was just really tired. And people, around him were saying that his last protege, and her name escapes me. But the one that was on the plane with him, that was on the plane with him and Kurt, her name will come to me later. I know it will. Um, but she even remarked that Prince had been saying, how he was so tired. And then the other guy, what is his name? CeeLo. He, the last time he saw Prince was at that last show, in Atlanta, and that was actually on April 14th, my husband's birthday. CeeLo would later say that, Prince had also told him how tired he was. And then his, what is her name, you guys? But the girl that he made the album made her album with. Now I gotta look her name up, y'all. Give me a minute. But she even said that, Prince had been complaining about, just feeling tired, and like he just didn't really have, any more in him. And, he just wanted to just go to sleep. Like he didn't care much about, performing as much. He just wanted to go to sleep all the time. And give me just a second because I have to look her name up because her name is escaping me at the moment. So give me just a second. So Judith Hill. I don't know why I couldn't remember that. So yeah, Judith Hill, she gave this interview, and I think it was, a couple of months after he had passed away, that, he had, that's basically what he was saying on the plane, in addition to saying that he was hearing angels around him, and he was, seeing people, that had passed away in his dreams and things like that. And he just kind of felt like, that he was nearing the end of his life. And his sister, about 2 years prior to this, in 2014, his sister had also said that in one of the conversations that she had with Prince, Tika, that that he had said the same thing to her, that he was not that he was dying or anything like that, but that he was kind of letting her know that, he was on the downslide. And so I say all this to say, I firmly believe that Prince knew he was dying. Now, what he was dying from is up to conjecture, but I feel like he may have been terminally ill with something. And for whatever reason, the family has never decided to disclose what that illness could have possibly been. But I do feel like whatever it was probably terminal, meaning that, there was no cure for it. Around the time of his memorial service, there was Anna Fantastic, also known as Anna Garcia. She said that she overheard at a memorial service that she attended that Prince had early onset dementia or early onset Alzheimer's, one or the other. They're very similar. And she said she heard this from a family member. And if that was the case, I could definitely see Prince, I'm not saying, okay, that Prince, wanted to die, or that he, attempted or, committed suicide or whatever. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that if Prince got to the point where he could no longer remember how to play the guitar or even remember how to play the piano, that would be completely devastating to him. His music was everything to him. And if he was suffering from a debilitating disease like that, I could definitely see Prince not wanting to live anymore. I honestly do. And like I said, I'm saying that once again because I do not believe that there is enough evidence to suggest that he committed suicide. Even though there was some, far off rumor that there was a suicide note found and it was destroyed, but it was just a rumor that somebody that worked at Paisley Park claimed that they found, but that was never verified by the police or any known authority that I know of. But there were also hints, and I'm gonna get to my personal. I know I started that, but I didn't finish it. I have that bad, y'all. Forgive me. But going back to so yeah, there was instances where, Prince was, very aware of, this debilitating illness that he had. And he wanted to go out, I think, in the way that he wanted to go out. Like I said, once again, not saying that he committed, suicide, but I'm saying that there's strong evidence to suggest that he was ready to go. Another instance, and another story that I read, Kirky J, or Kirk Johnson, who we know was Prince's bodyguard, and he was a drummer, and he was a part of the MPG as a dancer in the early 90s with the Game Boys. So, Kirk was someone who had knew Prince for at least 30 years, if not longer, because they initially met when him and Dickerson and what's the other guy's name? When they performed in Purple Rain, Tony Mosley, that was the other guy, Tony M. So Tony Dickerson and Kirky J or Kirk Johnson, those were the three those were the three dancers that were in Purple Rain. And so so that's how far they go back. So they go back a long time. And Kirk, in the late 90s, like 96, 97, 98, he was Prince's drummer for a little while. And then he kind of, became his bodyguard. So this is someone that I truly feel like really cared about Prince. And the night that they had to do the emergency landing on April 15th, he was basically, him and Judith Hill were crucial to Prince getting the help that he needed, because had they not got him to the hospital and made sure that he got that Narcan on the tarmac there, Prince would have died then. And apparently he may have wanted to, because allegedly it was later said that Prince was very upset with Kirk Johnson for making sure that he was revived. But after he was revived, and it took 2 cans of Narcan. Okay, so that really tells you how kind of deep Prince was into his opioid addiction, because normally it would take, like a normal person, maybe 1 Narcan to wake them up from a opioid, overdose. But they had to do 2 cans. I don't know if it was 2 full cans, but I do know that they had to do it 2 times at least before he woke up. And while he was in the hospital in Moline, he allegedly told Judith Hill that he was, finally ready to get help, that he was really going to try to get help. So that makes me think that he didn't have any desire to kill himself, because why would he say he wanted help and then make sure that his people reached out to the father and son team in California to make sure that, he got the help? He wouldn't, because Prince was so in control of his world that we know that he would have not allowed his team to reach out to anybody without his knowledge. So I kind of feel like Prince wanted to get help for the opioid addiction, and he wanted to continue with his life. But he knew at the same time that he had this debilitating illness, and he just didn't really know how to deal with it. And we've seen that before with him. Back in 1996, when his son died, he was left wanting answers and not getting them. And it is my firm belief that because of that is what attracted him to the Jehovah's Witness cult. Yeah, I said it, cult. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to really offend anybody. I know I probably will saying that. But any group of people that feel like they're the only people that are going to heaven. I came from a church that was like that, called the Church of Christ. And I left a few years ago because I just could not wrap my mind around that whole concept of thinking only a selective few. And I know they get that from Revelation. And yeah, I'm totally getting off topic. But it just never made any sense to me. And Maite, whenever I get there or get around to reviewing her book, talked about how she really felt that Aubrey's uncle, and y'all know who I'm talking about when I say Aubrey, Drake's uncle, really kind of sucked Prince into this, because he greatly admired Larry Graham. Larry Graham was a awesome bass player, original of the original, old school. And because he opened up for Jimi Hendrix and people like that. So Prince very much respected Larry Graham, and so all the more reason why he would be willing to listen to Larry. And I think Prince was, like I said, mourning the loss of his son, wanted answers for why his son had to die, and he just was just in a vulnerable period, but that's beside the point. But anyway, I'm just saying that once again, I think Prince at the end of his life was again at a vulnerable point, and he didn't know how to deal with this particular illness, whatever he had, and that led him to maybe thinking some thoughts about some things, or maybe wanting to just maybe not even so much retire, but, for him to say, oh, he's so tired, he just wanted to sleep. That made me think that, he just maybe wanted to take a long break. And there was nothing wrong with that, because he literally put an album out every year from like 1978 to like, 2011 almost. And then he had that 3-year break between 2011 and 2014. So I mean, he was tired. I mean 30 plus 35 plus albums. He had been, jumping off of pianos for 20 plus years, and it ruined his ankles and feet and legs and hips, and all of that was hurting. So it really bothers me when people, say that Prince was a drug addict. He was not. He was addicted to opioids, just like other celebrities were that, had, these high profile careers, like Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson admitted on camera that he was addicted to opioids. So, Prince was no different. But God bless him, no. I mean, he put it all out there on the floor. I mean, his performances were just phenomenal. So he really, laid it all out there. But going back to that particular day for me, when I found out, I was at work and I was on the circulation desk, and there were or was it 2 or 3 computers? I can't remember, but I was on the circulation desk, which is where people come when they want to check out, books and whatever. So I was on like the very end of the desk. We had like a big wide desk, and I was on the very right end of the desk. And I was right next to the phone. And so I'm on the computer, scrolling on the internet. And I remember seeing a post before, like a couple of days before, like after the whole incident in Moline, they had, I'm pretty sure it was TMZ that said that Prince was at home resting. And we do know that he did make an appearance on the 16th, had like a small little gathering. And that's where he, said the cryptic phrase of hold your prayers, or, and so that made people think that, okay, so what does that mean? And to this day, I still don't know exactly what he meant by save your prayer. I don't know. I can't remember if it was hold your prayers or save your prayers for another day. So I don't know if he was saying, okay, I'm okay, and just save your prayers for when you need them. But I thought that was very cryptic. But anyway, so I remember seeing this article about, that he was at home, recovering, and they said that he had the flu and that, he was sick. And that's why he had to cancel his Atlanta booking earlier in the month of April, like April the 7th. And that's why April the 14th, he came back, because that was from that previously canceled show. So I was like, oh, okay, well, that's good. He's recovering. He's just a little sick. And with him being a little older, sometimes, older people, they take a little longer to recover, and so that's kind of what my mindset was. But I can't remember the exact time, but it was definitely, he died at, he was pronounced dead, I believe at 10 o'clock, 10:07, something like that. So I did not see the headline. TMZ didn't catch it. until I want to say maybe close to 11:30 or something like that, close to noon. And when it flashed up on the computer, Prince dead at 57, I was like, are you kidding me? They just said he was sick. And that's the first thing that came out of my mouth. And my coworker, who was on the other side of the circulation desk, she was like, what happened? And I looked at her and I was like, they said Prince is dead. And she was like, what? I was like, yes, they said he is dead. And I just sat there, y'all. I was just sat there in amazement. I'm just like, with my mouth open, like, they just said he was sick. He can't be dead. Like, I was just so through, you guys. And I sat there. I sat there at the circulation desk at my post for about maybe, I want to say maybe about 5 to 10 minutes. And then I called my boyfriend, who now husband. And he was out because he had been out grocery shopping. And so he was in a grocery store. So I don't think he had, heard anything. And so I get on the phone with him and I'm like, babe, Prince is dead. He was like, what? And and the first thing he said, he was like, are you okay? And I specifically remember telling him that I was, but deep down, I was not. Like, and I couldn't even get into like all of the, the tributes and everything turning purple, like, over the next coming days and weeks after. Like, I just could not get into all of that because I was just so numb. I just was just like, I can't believe that this is real. So it took me a while to, start looking at the tributes and even really to listen to like Purple Rain, for example. And I know, like I said, a lot of, Prince fans talk shit about Purple Rain because it's his most well-known song. And people that aren't familiar with Prince, that's the song they know. But it is such a beautiful song. And I think it's very serendipitous that it was the very last song that he sang on the piano before he got off stage. So, and I've said this in numerous other episodes, but it's worth repeating that I think we as so-called real Prince fans need to stop underestimating the power of the song Purple Rain. Yeah, there are better songs in his catalog, most definitely. But I feel like Purple Rain gets so much hate among the Prince community. And I could be wrong. Maybe it's just me, but I always get that sense every time I look on Facebook. And there's like little, memes or whatever. I tell people I'm a Prince fan, the first thing they want to start singing is Purple Rain and da da da. And because that song was just so, so powerful. And for years, I could not hear Purple Rain without crying. Like, I was just, as soon as he started the guitar solo, I would just be bawling. I mean, my husband could tell you, like, I was just inconsolable. That song is so moving to me. And it is it's not my favorite Prince song, but The Beautiful Ones, which is on the same album, the Purple Rain album, is mine. But that song, like I said, it gets a lot of hate, but it is one of his most beautiful songs. And of course, they played it nonstop. The Purple Rain album, the Purple Rain movie, everything, and I just, like I said, at the time, I just could not fully embrace all that because I was still in mourning. And in a way, 9 years later, I still am in mourning because just the other day when there's this channel that me and my husband watch on Facebook that it's like tales of like, how celebrities died and this and that. And so they highlighted Prince. And my eyes just started misting over and I just, and the tears started to fall, because they spoke so, highly of him as, most, people do on the internet. And, I think it's probably AI voice, but the AI voice was just, speaking so highly and so beautifully about him. And it just made me sad, that he's no longer with us. And today, I was, of course, I always listen to Prince. I listen to Prince most days anyway. But this particular day, I went to work listening to him, and I posted a picture of what I wore to work. I wore my black and white parade shirt and my Prince symbol necklace. I wore that to work today in honor and memory of our sweet Prince. And I just want to encourage the Purple family to just continue to be a part of Prince's legacy in any way you can. Support. I know some of y'all don't give a damn about his estate, and lately they've been kind of pissing me off too. I'm not going to lie. But we need to try to support the estate, as much as possible, as far as like when they put out actual music in that way. That's what I'm talking about. Not necessarily supporting their decisions. Because let me not even get started on the whole Netflix thing. I've talked about that numerous times already, so I'm not going to get into that again. But supporting them as far as like when they put out Prince's music, or they put out unreleased music, or when they do the super deluxe editions and all that, which I'm really hoping they do one this year. Nothing has been announced yet that I'm aware of, so if y'all know something, please notate that in the comments of this episode. But going back to just how are we feeling now 9 years later? Well, still missing him. Still wishing that, he was at Paisley Park still, performing. Because I have no doubt if he was still alive that he would still be doing some type of shows at Paisley Park. Even if he got to the point where he didn't want to tour anymore. I think he would have definitely still been performing at Paisley Park for sure. So I just hate that I, missed that opportunity because as y'all know, or some of you may know, I did go to Paisley Park with my husband last summer in August. We had a blast, and I was so glad that we got to go. And I would love to go next year for the 10-year. Uh, uh, I don't know if I'll go in April, but I would love to go to the celebration next year, around his birthday next summer. So we'll see if we can pull that off. Because I wasn't able to go this year because it is expensive, y'all. Y'all know that it is like super expensive. Just trying to get the flight and the hotel, and then trying to get like all of that. Like you're going to be out of thousands of dollars, like no lie. So that's something that if you want to do, you definitely need to save up for. I'll tell you that. But I think it'll definitely be worth it because just going to Paisley Park was such a treat last year. So I encourage anyone if you haven't been to Paisley Park, you must go. You really must go. You will, and then do the ultimate package, which allows you to do some of everything. It's a 3-hour tour. Do that one. Don't sell yourself short, in other words. But well, I think that's it, you guys. I don't really have no more to say about today. I just ask that you all, continue to pray for me and continue to pray for Prince and his family. And let's continue to just love one another, have love one another. I appreciate the post that Maite put out today about just, knowing and, being that, she knew that she was in the presence of greatness and that she was in the presence of a complete and utter genius. I appreciated those words from her. And I know that she had the type of relationship that, so few people had. So I thank her for that. And I thank other people, other celebrities that, acknowledged today. And so I just ask that, just keep being the Purple family that we are, peace and be wild. And, just continue to love Prince and, put his music out there and tell people about him that don't know. Because there's still a lot of people, a lot of Gen Z people that have never heard of Prince, So definitely introduce somebody new to Prince. And I really appreciate a lot of the Gen Zers that are on YouTube. I always try to keep up with like some of the latest Prince reactions, and it's really beautiful to see. you can almost see how they're getting ready to go down the purple rabbit hole and become true Prince fans. And it's just wonderful to see, because unfortunately, if Prince had his way, he probably still might not be on YouTube, you know? And that was his right, you know. He felt what he felt. He wanted to be paid properly, you know, for his work, as he should. So I don't blame him or fault that for him at all. But, you know, but I am glad that we do have access to his music now on YouTube and other platforms. So I know that I'm just like a preacher. I said I'm going to end, but I'm I am going to end it now. I do want to say though, I will be doing more episodes probably in the summer, but for now I'm going to stick to doing like once a month. So in the next couple of episodes, I've got some reviews coming up. I've got that long awaited slave documentary review coming up. I'm going to review at least one book. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to do Sheila E.'s book or if I'm going to do Neil Curlin's book, This Thing Called Life. I'm going to review one of those books. I'm also going to go back to my album reviews. I still have to review Chaos and Disorder. So those will be coming up in the coming months on the podcast. And as always, if you want to come on the podcast and have a conversation about Prince, you are more than welcome to do that. Just leave me a comment or message me on Facebook and let me know, hey, I would like to be on the show and I would love to have you. So thank you guys so much for listening tonight. And y'all have a wonderful purple evening. Rest in peace, sweet Prince. We love you. We miss you. Peace and be wild. And may you live to see the dawn. Bye.